I'm going to introduce you once again to the man who single-handedly, according to Josephine County Commissioner Cherryl Walker, the reason Josephine County is not economically developing is not because of environmental rules or not because of excessive taxation rules or licensing fees and all the rest of it. It's because of Dale Matthews. It's Dale's fault. I will introduce you to Cherryl Walker's scapegoat here. You're going to love this story. Got to keep everybody honest here. This is the Bill Meyer Show. Have a little bit of tape I wanted to play for you. I think this was the latest tape on badcounty.com, in which I think it was Commissioner Cherryl Walker really upset about economic development. People were getting really angry, I guess, here.
That makes me angry. And when Dr. Evil gets angry, Mr. Bigglesworth gets upset. And when Mr. Bigglesworth gets upset, people die!
Oh, no.
Why must I be surrounded by frickin' idiots?
The violence in these county commission meetings, this is getting pretty bad. Last week, and it was interesting, I had a good conversation with Commissioner Cherryl Walker. And
it wasn't so good for her.
Well, no, I guess it wasn't, but I thought I was very polite, but I was basically calling the economic development baby that they were pushing out there ugly because I thought it was a lie. And it was basically saying that $7,000 being spent as a grant from lottery funds for wheelchair ramps was going to lead from anywhere from 117 to 200-something jobs. And it's a ridiculous claim. I know that these are the lies that government officials and people that are looking for government and or taxpayer money are hoping to get, all right? This is the whole grant funding stream scam. You say it's going to help generate jobs and such. It's a lie. And I know that they will, Commissioner Walker and I just did not have an agreement last week, but I was very polite with her. People were saying she sounded really angry, but I don't know. Let's circle around to what happened this week then, because you, of course, put cameras in front of the commissioners, then you put all the stuff on badcounty.com, this non-commercial website, and people can sit there and actually see what they say and take it from here. Dale.
Well, that's the problem, because people can see what they say. We were the whistleblowers about this scam, and just last night at the Grants Pass City Council meeting, I said, why is Courier not even writing a story about a $100,000 cost overrun? This would be a story in any city in America, but not here.
Okay, so the $100,000 cost overrun, that's the one with the Dimmick Tower in which they forgot to count 4 floors, and they ended up putting out a bid for 3 floors of destroying the old hospital when there were actually 4, right?
Right. And so it's embarrassing for the commissioners. We need to know what they're doing, and you can only find that now, unfortunately, in Josephine County at badcounty.com. We're the only ones, and the Courier, it's not even responding when I taunt them in public. Do something about this story. Nope, no, they're not doing anything about that story. It's not a tiny story. And so we've been waiting a year for Cherryl Walker to come up with a report about how things are going in economic development. And she promised us it would be any day now 6 months ago.
Okay.
She has finally come out with a verbal issue of her report.
And what was the verbal issue of economic development in Josephine County?
It's badcounty.com's fault.
Really?
Yeah, she has talked with several of these organizations that help place companies. And according to her, and pardon me for quoting her directly, those organizations are saying, what's up with all this badcounty.com crap? Really? This is Cherryl Walker telling the public who's to blame. And she ended up saying that if you want to look for an organization or a person that's responsible for the bad things that are happening in economic development in Josephine County, it's not her and this ridiculous deal with spending this money.
It's not environmental rules. It's not state licensure or land use regulations and other regulations. It's not that. It's you.
It's the whistleblowers. It's me in particular, Dale Matthews. She mentioned me by name a couple of times. It's the people that insist that the public needs to know what we're doing. And she called badcounty.com a tragedy.
Oh, wow. Boy, you must have struck a nerve there.
Well, if you're not coming to, listen, it's non-commercial, so I'm going to put on my hat here. If you're not coming to badcounty.com, then you're not understanding what all the controversy is about. And when you go there, you see, oh, this is just a videotape of people blah, 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 blah talking. So
in other words, Microsoft would probably want to move to Josephine County if it weren't for the fact that badcounty.com shows some of the questionable decisions and processes in Josephine County's government, right?
If they read the Courier, they're not going to find any of that. So what's wrong with us?
Okay, well, I guess you must be stirring up some trouble here. Victor ended up sending me an email on your plight, by the way. I guess he was at the meeting, too. Yeah. In fact, I'll read you the email. It says, Cherryl Walker, Josephine County Commissioner, declares that county economic woes are because of badcounty.com at the weekly business session. And he continues, the reason for county's lack of economic development is due to companies seeing the website and Dale Matthews reports. And Victor says there's an old military term that applies here, YGTBSM, or you have to be, or you got to be excrementing me, is what he said. So anyway, I feel very sorry that they're going to blame lack of economic activity on a modest non-commercial website. It just seems a little odd.
We're not that modest.
Well,
look, the thing is, this is now going to be our new motto. Come to the website, the news website, that Cherryl Walker calls a tragedy. She's going to put her reputation with 80% of the voters saying these junk ordinances were a stupid idea. She's going to put a 20% approval rating up against ours? I welcome that, buddy. I really do.
When you have a county commissioner actually calling you and making you it's your fault. Of course, you may be a convenient scapegoat. You may be a convenient scapegoat for the strange going-ons in Josephine County, which you have detailed over the years. Yeah. So How does it feel to be the scapegoat?
Well, we go to all the meetings, and we tell people what's actually happening. And as much as I've tried, we can't get our local radio station and we cannot get our local so-called newspaper to print anything about tiny things, the really big things. They won't do it. And so when Simon here says, get with the program, and when Keith X says, well, we want people to come up and say positive things.
A public activist, a watchdog, is usually there to point out the problems within plans so that we avoid making mistakes.
We were the whistleblowers about this scam, and they cannot tolerate that because they didn't grow up in America, I guess.
Well, here's the thing. Back to the park. Once again, the park over in the Illinois Valley. A wonderful thing which they have done, community involvement and all the rest of it. The problem that you get in there, into, as far as I'm concerned here, Dale, is when you lie to people, or I don't know if it's lie or maybe just exaggerate. Exaggerate may be a better term to use here. When you exaggerate that wheelchair ramps paid for through some lottery funds, or at least helping out there, will help generate some 200 permanent full-time jobs in a seasonal park. Help me understand that. Don't get it, my friend.
Here's the problem that Cherryl Walker is having in promoting why they did this. Imagine I've mentioned this before. Imagine how much business would have to be generated. Force a local gas station, there's not too many there, to actually hire another person to pump gas. There's that much business. And now multiply that times 214.
It's time to tell the truth with one another about where real economic development comes. And
you better not at a county commissioners meeting, or else they'll point the finger at you, at me.
They're trying to justify the grant funding stream. Here's the problem, though, is that Josephine County is certainly allowed to give grants just because lottery funds that are given to Josephine County from the state can be used to help. They can be used to help benefit the parks. Why not just go out there and say, listen, we're going to give a $7,000 grant to these wonderful community people because this is a good thing for the community, and just leave it at that.
I gave him money out of my pocket. At the same meeting, I was criticized. I gave the guy $100. I love the guy. He sent you a good plan. Wonderful idea, but it's not going to generate jobs. And don't lie to us and say it's going to generate 200 plus jobs.
But this is what they're all doing. Everybody is sucked into this grant funding stream, and the only way, we have to justify our fuddy-duddy grant. No, just say that it's a good thing for the community, and please help us out. We've already generated thousands of dollars in donations and man-hour, volunteer hours, and all the rest of it, and it's a great thing. But it is a real stretch to say that it generates 200 jobs. Full-time job.
The fact that you don't understand that, and I don't understand that, makes us, according to the commissioners, ignorant.
A tragedy. Yeah, ignorant and a tragedy.
A tragedy.
Yeah, a tragedy.
Yeah, badcounty.com is a tragedy. Officially, it's a tragedy. It was mentioned in public testimony by a county commissioner.
All right, Bill Matthews, the tragedy at badcounty.com. And once again, good thing. Good thing to rebuild the park and get the wheelchair ramps there for handicap access. But don't sell it as economic development. All right. This is the time in which I turn things over to you, and we converse about the issues we've been kicking around and elsewhere. 770 KMED, and there's a lot going on. And let's talk. Rika, I wanted to get to you first because you called late last hour, wasn't able to get to you on the Grants Pass Park Grant, which I think is a good idea. I just don't like it being sold through economic development. But let's hear about it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's no Grants Pass Park, that's for sure.
Okay. Pardon me. That was a Josephine County State Park is what it was. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, a state park being subsidized by Josephine County's economic development dollars.
Now, that's kind of the way it goes because the state is not really good at maintaining its parks. And so they're kind of depending on counties to backfill what the state won't do.
That's about it. And thing is, I was at that meeting when that grant was passed, and I heard nothing about 200-some jobs. In fact, I heard very little about anything about jobs.
Well, I imagine they didn't because they didn't want to talk about it, but I'm just going from the grant submission. It's right in the grant submission.
Yes, but you see, they don't have to go by the grant submission. If they can find any good reason to give that grant, they can do it.
Oh, I agree with you. In fact, I even said it is certainly within the purview of the Josephine County Commission to approve the wheelchair grant for the parks just because the lottery funds coming back to Josephine County can be used for parks. But
yes.
But remember, Commissioner Cherryl Walker was on the show last week, basically tearing me a new one, saying, hey, this is about economic development. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that. That's all.
Preventing a bad thing is as good as causing a good thing.
All right. Well, then I expect to see grants for all of Jackson County state parks too, so we can get some more wheelchair ramps in those places if we don't have them already, and then we're gonna put everybody to work building those, I guess. All I'm saying is that everything ultimately could be considered an economic good, right? But to actually specify that you're going to get 117 was the specific number in the grant application, up to 214, I think it was. These were going to be full-time, permanent jobs generated from the rebuild of the park. That's all.
And still, that isn't, they don't have to go by the grant application.
I know they don't have to go by the grant application.
They did have to stop that park from being closed.
All they have to do is just say, we're doing this for a good. I don't like stuff being sold to me through BS. And that's what this system does, Rika. That's all I'm getting at. Just say, hey, it's a good thing. The community's weighed in. It's a community good. Let's make it happen. And then we're done with it. Okay?